As I've mentioned previously, I've been tasked with coordinating a project to develop an app for our events teams in the North American and Latin American regions. And I would like to have a site where I can do that work. Now, I set up a team site originally imagining that's what we were going to do with it, but we've gone way past that point because I created too many great apps that other people wanted to use. So I'd like to create a project site, but before I do, let's talk just a little bit about what a project is, because a project is different than the work you do every day, unless the work you do every day is to create one project after another. But for most of us, projects are different than our everyday work. Projects are bounded by time and resources and requirements. They have clearly defined timelines, clearly defined budgets, goals that are specific. If they don't, they will not succeed. And projects do differ from the ongoing efforts of your organization. Often people who are first learning about project management are trying to find some way that they can say that their job is a project, but most of what I do every day isn't a project per se, even though the things that I do are unique and different from each other. Most of us have ongoing work that happens every day, and no matter what the timeline is, that work will continue. But our projects, on the other hand, have a starting and a stopping point, even if those projects take decades, like building the Mackinac Bridge in Michigan or the highway system in the United States. And there's always a time that you say, this project is done. Let's now evaluate this project, learn something from it, and then go back to what we were doing before or go on to the next project. Project management then is managing those types of efforts. And project managers focus on 5 specific things that happen in order: initiating, planning, executing, controlling, and then closing their projects. So project managers get really concerned about things like tasks and timelines, and that's why this project site is so cool. Now, here's the opportunity. This isn't going to be the last project that we create here at Landon Hotel. It just happens to be the first one that I'm creating because I arrived here fairly recently. We might imagine that we would like to have one place to put all of our projects, so we could create a SharePoint team site and call it Projects, for example, and then within that site create a project site for each project. Right now, I'm going to create one site, and that is going to be for our event app project. The name of this app, or what everybody's calling it at least, is at Landon, but I don't have a way to put that at sign here. But I do down here. If I call it a project site, I'm helping teach everyone, right? For the at Landon app team. We can call this event app. That'll do fine. I'm selecting a project site as opposed to a team site or any other type of site we've created. I'm going to maintain the same permissions. I'm creating this in the top level of the site. This is a site that has appeared to New York and Detroit and San Francisco because even though I'm housed in San Francisco, this site is actually not part of the work of that particular location. Do I want to put this on the quick launch? Yes. Do I want it on the top link bar of the parent site? Actually, that's where I want it. I don't want it on the quick launch. Let's put it on the top link bar of the parent site. That would be best. So what's its name? Event App Project. I'm probably going to be editing that name in my link list on my top navigation. But let's create this. While this is loading, an alternative to creating a project site in SharePoint is to use Project Server. If you're working with an organization that creates a lot of projects, then you might be using Project Server along with SharePoint. But we've created enough team sites that you know that this isn't how a team site necessarily looks to begin with. It's a little further along than we would expect in terms of the apps. Now, this project summary, we know how to put it in a site. We just click this promoted link. And we have the ability to add anything else we would like, but let's take a look at our site contents and see what this project site got us besides a project summary. I have documents, site assets, tasks, a microfeed, and a calendar. I would immediately then add an issues list to this site. We saw one earlier. You know the power of them. Imagine that we are using that particular type of a list to be able to manage issues that come up during the project. My favorite, issue tracking. And I can create space for issues on the home page if I wish. We know how to do this. All we need to do is place an app part on the home page of our site. What else belongs in this project site? If I want to be able to collect our business requirements and have discussions about them, I might want to add a discussion app to our site. The difference between a discussion app and email is in a discussion app, it's all in one place. I don't have to do the email archaeology dig to find out what we said in response to a question that we were having a conversation about. Discussion boards are very easy to use. And here's our project discussion. Now I'm creating long URLs with spaces in them. It would be better if I hadn't done that and created the shorter URL instead first. Other apps that you may consider for your project site. If you have specific contacts for the project, subject matter experts and so on, that would be good. We already have a calendar. A site mailbox is a very popular app because it allows you to send emails to the site by connecting your site to an Exchange mailbox. So for larger projects, that's a great thing to have. And I will often wish to have an announcements list in a site, particularly as activity in the site heats up. If this is a site that requires some engineering or requires some media, for example, a project that will require someone to go shoot some video, capture some audio, take some pictures, then I might also wish to have an assets library or a picture library. When I'm all done adding apps, and again, once we know what we want and we're familiar with the different apps that are available in SharePoint and familiar with the work we want to do, it's wicked easy to be able to go in and add the apps. And then it's very easy for us to decide what we would like to have on the home page of our site and modify the home page so that we have access to issue tracking, for example, so that we have access to our documents. It's not unusual on a project site to have two separate document libraries, one for project documents that help us make decisions, a collection of information, and another for deliverables, documents that we're going to ultimately turn over as part of the project itself, even if our customer is an internal group like my colleagues for this particular project. When I'm finished setting this up, before I do anything else, before I invite people to the site, perhaps after I've added a logo or done something with a theme, but not much more than that, it's worthwhile for me to make a decision. Do I think this is a great beginning of a project site? Because I've now spent additional time customizing the site. Remember that before you add other content or other content that you wouldn't want to have shared, this is a great time to save a site as a template. There's nothing wrong with having not just a project site, but a land and project site as well.